Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Heronbrook Farm Kitchen. It is fabulous to have you here as always. And today we're going to be doing that English classic, the scone. We're going to make cream tea. Okay, let's talk about English scones. First question, are they even English? The Scottish lay claim to them. Not sure myself. I think they probably are English. Next question, do you go with the cream first and then the jam on top? Or do you put the jam on and then put the cream on top of that? That depends on whether you're from Devon or Cornwall. If you're Cornish, it's always cream first, and I'm always cream first. These are absolutely delicious. They take 30 minutes or so to make from beginning to end. And then a little bit of cooling and you've got them on the table. You can see them here, beautiful, crumbly, light, uneven shape and texture, absolutely delicious. And they've got to be served with clotted cream and with jam. I prefer raspberries, strawberries just as good, plum, whatever takes your fancy. So I really hope that you're going to give these a try at home. They are a crucial component of bringing a little bit of English summer to wherever you are in the world. So let's jump in and take a look at the ingredients. Okay, let's talk about the ingredients for these amazing scones. You're going to need 350 grams of self-raising flour, and you're going to need 85 grams of unsalted butter. And this needs to be cubed and cold from the fridge because we're going to be rubbing that in to the flour. You need a tiny amount of sea salt, 1/4 teaspoon, and you need 1 teaspoon of baking powder. 45 grams of caster sugar, a little squeeze of vanilla extract or vanilla essence, which we're going to put in the milk. And talking of the milk, you need 175 grams or 175 ml of whole milk. And then finally, you're going to need an egg to glaze the top of the scones, and you're going to need a squeeze of lemon juice to go into the milk just to acidify it a little bit. You're also going to need some special tools in order to do this. You need your little whisk for whisking up the egg. You're going to need a brush for glazing. And you're going to need something to mix the mix with, because you're not going to be able to do that with a spoon. That would make it heavy. So you're either going to use a cutlery knife or a small palette knife like this. And then finally, and most importantly, you're going to need a cookie cutter, a small cookie cutter for punching out the scones just before they go into the oven. So let's jump in and get these all combined. Okay, so let's get going. You're going to need a big mixing bowl, and we'll go straight into that with all of the flour. You can sieve the flour into the bowl, but to be honest, if I'm rubbing in butter, I don't usually bother. And into that we're going to put the baking powder and the salt, and we're just going to give that a little mix up with a spoon or a spatula or something like that. And then we go straight in with the butter. Get all of that butter in there. And you need to be quite light with this. You're going to coat the butter in flour, as you can see me doing here, and then we're just going to gently rub it in. Which does take a while. You're sort of trying to flake the butter, and little bits of it will come off each time. They do say that the best pastry chefs have cold hands, and that's quite important here. You really don't want this butter to melt at all. You just want it to crumble in, and you'll end up eventually with something that looks a little bit like breadcrumbs, which is the perfect consistency. So I'm going to shut up now, and we'll fast forward through this bit, and I'll come back to you once it's all rubbed in. Okay, so you can see that is now starting to resemble breadcrumbs. It's light. We want keeping plenty of air in the mixture here. It's almost there, another 30 seconds. And this will all be rubbed in. You could of course do this in a food processor, but it's so quick just to do it by hand. To be honest, it's not really worth getting the food processor dirty. Okay, there we go. That is done. Looking absolutely fabulous and ready to move on to the next stage. I'm just going to go and wash my hands. Okay, so the next stage is to just sprinkle in the caster sugar, and then using your spoon just get that combined. Beautiful breadcrumb mixture, smells amazing. Okay, now we need to prepare the liquid. So we've got the milk in a jug here. This has been slightly warmed in the microwave just to take the chill off it. And I'm going to go into that with just a squeeze of vanilla extract and a squeeze of lemon, just to acidify the milk slightly. That will make the milk separate. That will make the milk separate, and that is intentional. You don't need to worry about that. But the acid that we put into the milk with the lemon juice will react with the baking powder, and that's what will give it its rise. So, next stage, we just make a well in the centre here, and pour in the liquid straight into the middle. And then, as you can see me doing, just using this little palette knife, or you could use the cutlery knife, we're just gently starting to bring this together, and it'll be lumpy and horrible to start with big wet clumps, but you just keep working around, and you do want to be quite gentle with this. You're not, if you make it too much of a doughy dough, you will end up with a very heavy scone. So lightness at this stage is really important, and you just want to keep working it around, and it will just start to come together, scrape down the sides until it is forming into a rough sort of dough shape, something like this. Absolutely fabulous. Okay, and once you've got it to this sort of stage where it's broadly all come together, you can then just tip it out onto the worktop and scrape those last bits out, get rid of the bowl. And then on the worktop, what we're going to do is we're just going to bring it together. And remember, light touch at this stage. You really don't want it to be too homogenized into a single fat piece of dough. So there we go. That's enough, quite crumbly still. And then what we're going to do is we're going to punch out some shapes. Probably get 5 out of here. No, I'm only going to get 4. So I punch those out, and I've got a baking tray somewhere, and I'm going to stick these straight onto a baking tray. You can put some baking parchment on. To be honest, you don't need to bother. These mats stay on our trays all of the time. And then just very gently take the scone out. We're probably going to make about 8 from this mix. Lost a bit there. And then just space them apart. You can bring this together again, nice and gently. These 4 will be your best scones. And make it into another shape again to get another 4 out. Punch down. Try not to twist. Bring that together one final time. So every time I do this, I'm working it, and the next set of scones will be a little bit heavier, but we can get another 2 out of there. And if I persevered, I could probably get another couple out, but I won't do that today. I shall set that to one side, and we will get ready to glaze. So I should say I've preheated the oven. The oven has been preheated to 200 degrees centigrade. And I've just turned it off because it makes an awful racket, as you know. I'm just going to wash my hands again, and then we'll get the tops glazed and we'll get them in the oven. Okay, so we've got our egg, beautiful orange yolk. We'll just give that a quick whisk up. And then using the brush, we're just going to put a bit of egg wash on the top of each one of these scones. You do want to try not to let it run down the sides, because that will stop them from rising. And you don't want to press down too hard, but apart from that, it is literally just painting it on. And there we go. Having said don't let it run down the sides, I've let a bit run down the sides. Never mind. So there's always a great temptation with scones to try and make this dough completely all one consistency. And I can tell you, the very best scones, the crumbliest, lightest scones, you're going to end up with something where the tops look a little bit cratered, a little bit like you know, sort of the ground when it's dried out in the sun. That's going to give you the perfect scone. So they're all good. I might just put a little bit more on this one on the end here, the first one I did. There we go. And we're going to get these straight into the oven. Okay, so straight into the middle of the oven, 200 degrees. That's it, 10 minutes, we'll come back and take a look. Okay, that's it, timer's just gone off, 10 minutes, that's all it takes. Oh my lord, look at those, absolutely fabulous. Okay, and then just straight off the tray, still lovely and soft, I can feel in my fingers, and onto the cooling rack. They smell incredible. So they are going to sit on this cooling rack for 30 or 40 minutes, and then we can cut into them and give them a try. I can't wait. Okay, 30 minutes has passed. They're still warm. They smell absolutely incredible. Let's break into one and just take a look. They break apart beautifully. Look at that lovely crumbly inside. I'm going to go in with a little bit of clotted cream. In fact, I'm going to go in with quite a lot of clotted cream. And I'm going to go with some jam. And let's see what these taste like. They are unbelievable. So they are light, they're crispy on the outside, they're soft and crumbly in the middle, still slightly warm. You've got the rich taste of the clotted cream, which is very traditional in an English tea. And then you've got the sharp raspberry jam, which I'm using there. Sweet, delicious, absolutely the best part of a cream tea. I've really enjoyed making these today. It's been fabulous. They're incredibly quick and easy. Literally, you can have them on the table 45 minutes to an hour after you've started making them. Kids love them, adults love them. If you want to bring a bit of that British summer to your table, then you need to jump in and make these. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do subscribe, hit that like button, and we'll see you on the next one.